Hey, what's up, guys? Mason Fact here. I'm about to record another video on building a watch list. Apologize about about not being able to finish the series last week. Just a couple things came up, had to leave and celebrate my brother's wedding. And then last night, I spent the night watching the men's national championship for college basketball. I went to Texas Tech, so wanted to see if they could pull it off. Unfortunately, they didn't. But anyway, let's get straight into it. By the way, this video is just going to be on Watchlist. I noticed I've been getting a lot of requests on Twitter of other things to go over, and I will go over those things, but not in this specific video. So I'm not going to go over the scanners. I'm not really going to go over. There was just a bunch of different things people have requested. I'll go over them eventually in other videos and probably soon, but just not in this specific video. All right, anyway, so we're going to prepare tomorrow's watch list. That would be Wednesday, April 10th. So it's the same process as usual, guys. I just need to go through and clean this one up a little bit. But yeah, by the way, I'd never even checked into the market last Thursday or Friday. Just briefly each night, I kind of threw some tickers. I looked at my scans, threw tickers on my watch list, just on my secondary watch list, so I could, kind of stay up to date with the market. But never took a trade Thursday or Friday. Like I said, didn't even watch the market. Okay. Almost done. Okay. So, if you remember me talking about last week, whenever I was going over the watch list, I talked about the Bitcoin plays, and they ended up having a nice little run, nice little multi-day breakout on some of these, like BTCS. I think that was the best one, yeah. And then BTSC ran a little bit. MGTI did run, but I was reluctant to trade that one because it had former resistance close by. But I'll be keeping these on watch for now. I'm not going to put them on my main watch list, but I'll keep them on my secondary watch list just because when it comes to these Bitcoin sympathy plays, the only reason they're going to run is if Bitcoin is moving up in price. And, that's kind of like trading stocks that are based on commodities. You could be long one of these stocks overnight, and then Bitcoin gets crushed, and even though it's a beautiful multi-day breakout, because Bitcoin went down in price, it's very, very unlikely that one of these sympathy plays will go up in price. It'll get crushed with Bitcoin. So I'm going to put BTCS on my secondary OTC watch list. Same for BTSC. You'll see that this one didn't have as good of a run as BTCS did. CMGO, that one got crushed this morning, gap down, 70% or so. Really bad news. I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list just because it'll likely have a bounce. I'm almost certainly not going to touch it, though. I always just like to see if I can learn anything, but within the next few days, I won't be surprised at all if it does have a bounce. But now that it's sub penny, I really don't like touching sub pennies. And, it had really bad news. So I just don't like to touch stocks like that. But as I said, I'll put it on my secondary watch list. So InBev, that had a big volume day yesterday on Monday, gapped down this morning. I believe the news was something to do with Walmart. If I'm correct, I think it was actually old news. I may be wrong on that. I don't know. I didn't really pay too much attention to Bitcoin or to InBev. I mean, it could have been a very nice long yesterday, but I don't know. I don't like stocks. Like, this chart is just kind of messy. It traded big volume and everything. It's not my type of long. It was a pretty solid first green day, but I was pretty confident it would not gap up today. And sure enough, it didn't. That's why I did not consider swinging it long overnight. By the way, I'm going to move that to my secondary watch list for listed stocks just because it's, quote unquote recent runner because of its volume yesterday, but likely won't be any play for me moving forward. And the reason for that is because pot's just not that hot right now. And if we go back and look at this area of the chart, there's very heavy resistance around 9 and 10, with hundreds of millions of shares traded. So I probably would never be interested again in InBev for long until it managed to break out above that range. But honestly, I don't ever really see myself trading InBev again unless maybe way down the road it gets crushed, goes to like $1 or $2 and then has a really solid first green day. I don't know, we'll see, but for now I just don't really see myself trading this anytime soon. OOIL, they had their caveat emptor, or that was the OTC markets listed them as caveat emptor, which is basically like the death for these pump and dumps, and it got crushed today. I just kept it because I put it on my watch list because I wanted to see if it had a huge morning panic, and it did not actually. It's it just gapped down a lot and then kind of consolidated, bounced just a little bit, but not much. Nothing, like, definitely not worth a trade in my opinion. I'll keep it on my Wednesday watch list to see if it can have a big morning panic tomorrow. Then maybe I would consider trading. But all in all, this volume is really low. I mean, today was its biggest volume day, just over 1 million shares. The most amount of shares I'd probably be able to even buy tomorrow is a few thousand. And that's just it's probably not worth it for me. But we'll see. I'll keep it there just because if it gets extremely volatile, it can have a nice bounce. PLNHF. So this one is, I'm actually not even sure why I put this. I think I meant to put this on my secondary watch list for OTCs, but you see it's starting to run up a little bit over the past week. Kind of broke out of this little range here on some decent volume. It's creeping up to its all-time highs just above 250. So what I would like to see is maybe it consolidates up in this area for like a week or something and then has a big breakout on solid volume. That would definitely warrant a long. And I actually, with that being said, I want to show you MLCPF. You may remember me talking about that in one of the videos from last week. And I told you guys that even though it was breaking out to all-time highs like above this range on this day and stuff, I didn't trade it because the volume wasn't very good and it hadn't proven to me that it can be volatile yet. But last Friday, it started to break out again, and you'll notice that it broke out on huge volume for this stock. Like it was only about 1.5 million shares, but compared to all its recent trading history, that was a really big volume day. And I took a relatively small position overnight, bought I think like 10,000 shares or something in the threes, and sold it the next day in the 350s. That if you have a smaller account and you're looking for safe overnight plays, I think OTCs are always the safer overnight plays. That's in my opinion. I think the odds of them gapping up are much higher. And I think that this was a really, really good trade for a smaller account. There still wasn't that much volatility, but there was a nice 10 to 20% to be made, depending on your entry. So, keep that in mind for future opportunities. And I'm going to move PLNHF to my secondary watch list for OTCs. Well, it's actually already there. So okay, so SFRX. So this one has a decent chart. It's not that volatile. You'll see that it tried to break out here, a little multi-day breakout. What I notice about these types of breakouts is they tend not to work. Whenever it's like these, it's a green day and then another green day and then it tries to go again. Occasionally those will work, but generally, based on my experience, I haven't found them to work all that often. So that's a breakout to avoid, but maybe it'll consolidate for a day or two and then go for that breakout above 2. I'd consider longing that. The only thing I don't really like about this one is that it's not that volatile, but I'll definitely keep it on watch. And I think I'm going to put this on tomorrow's watch list, because now that it's had its, technically a first red day, if it manages to hold up again and go for a breakout and really strong volume, that could be a potential buy. SIML, this was the big play today in OTC Pennyland. Unfortunately, I did not trade it. I actually wasn't even in front of the market much today. This one spiked really big at the open. I think that was nearly 100% spike right there off the bat. And I don't buy breakouts into straight up spikes. This one actually worked nicely, but that's not my style. I do not buy breakouts into straight up spikes. And 100% move in 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. Yeah, I'm not. I don't buy that. I considered buying some around this area, but I just didn't pull the trigger. It would have been a really solid entry. There were probably a couple other opportunities to get in throughout the day. Like I said, I wasn't even here most of midday. Came back for like the last hour. For SI, oh yeah, and by the way, the reason this ran so much is because they had pretty good news. Who knows, if all this shit is even true. I don't trust any of these companies, but whenever a little piece of shit penny stock like this says, hey, we have a $175 million deal that we've lined up, that can definitely move a stock. I'm going to keep this on my watch list for tomorrow, because even though it didn't close at its highs, it still closed pretty strong. I mean, it's up 110% on the day. I think when people see this news overnight, that could bring in some buyers tomorrow. Maybe it has another push. I'm not sure if I will touch it. Maybe if it has a morning panic, I would consider. But because it was up so much, I'm keeping this on my watch list for tomorrow, because it's worth looking at. It's worth keeping an eye on. And YRIV. So I remember in one of my early videos when I started this series, I was actually on my scan and I said that I didn't like it. I'm not perfect. I was clearly wrong. I mean, this ran quite a bit. I think I saw it like over here on this day or something. I don't remember exactly, but even then, it wasn't a buy until this day. So whenever we were looking at it, it was irrelevant down here. It would have been a nice overnight long here. I would have considered that. I probably would have swung it, but that's hindsight bias, so it doesn't really matter. I didn't take the trade, but basically the reason I'm keeping this on my watch list is because I know that a lot of big shorts are in this stock, and this has held up very nicely so far. If it could consolidate maybe for another day or two, or it doesn't even have to do that. The point is, if it could break out above this area right here and hold that, it could have a really nice short squeeze. And so because of that, YRIV will be on my watch list for tomorrow and probably for several days moving forward, depending on what it does. Hopefully it doesn't get crushed because I love these little multi-day breakout plays. So that is it for Tuesday's watch list. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to my nightly scan, first for listed stocks. And we are going to see, what is worthy of being on my watch list for tomorrow, what we should put on the secondary watch list, and what we should ignore. So we have ATAI. Wow, this had a really nice move after hours. This will probably continue up tomorrow, except, well, let me go look at the long-term chart. I don't know about that. Maybe it gaps up a little, but I mean the volume was so big today. I would say this volume's probably not gonna play a big role. It could probably bust right through that. But at the same time, I don't know. Listed stocks are harder. Are harder in general. They're more choppy than OTCs. We'll see what it does. Because I will not be shorting this. I mean, I could if I wanted to, but I'm not going to be shorting it. I'm still really working on the short game. I'm going to put it on my secondary watch list because it was a big runner today. The only buy that I would consider tomorrow on ATAI is if it had a really big morning panic. But as I've mentioned in previous videos, that is extremely unlikely on listed stocks. They're much more choppy on the way down. They don't get extremely volatile panics that you can buy into and then have solid bounces. They just fade for several days, and then you want to buy that first green day. At least that's my approach. And based on my experience, I just don't think that buying listed I just don't think listed stocks are worth watching for panics because they don't happen that often. So BPMX. This was a recent runner over here. I think this was spiking. I'm going to say it was spiking in sympathy on this day because so basically JAGX had a huge run on this day right here. And the way the market works is there will be, whenever you have a big runner, there will be sympathy plays to that runner. And because JAGX ran this day, and it was a pharmaceutical, really low penny stock, it makes sense that BPMX ran the next day. And I know there were some other ones as well. Had decent volume today, only up 17%. This isn't exactly my trade. Maybe it goes up tomorrow. I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if it had a little bit of a run tomorrow. But because of that recent resistance, because there's no real reason this is up, I'm just going to ignore it. I don't care about it. And we'll just move on to the next one. So CCNI. Believe this stock has never really traded any volume before. Yeah, not really. It had like one day a long time ago. But they're an earnings winner. I mean, they're up 37% on the day. Was up a decent amount during pre-market. Flushed a little bit at the open. Tried to spike, failed, but just went sideways all day. because this is an earnings winner, because the float is very low, because it didn't just fade all day, I'm going to put this onto my secondary watch list, and I'll keep an eye on it in the coming days. CEI, this was spiking in sympathy to Yuma, which gapped up. I'm actually kind of annoyed about Yuma. I should have been long that overnight yesterday. That one I wish I could have back. I should have been long that overnight. There was really big volume on Yuma. I'm actually going to pull that up real quick. So Yuma, it had like these resistance days and stuff, but it was a nice little multi-day breakout above this because it ran a few days ago, and then it had really big volume compared to any of these days. I mean, I guess not huge compared to this day, but really decent volume, and gapped up. I mean, it was up over 100% at one point during pre-market, and it makes sense that it tried to spike at the open, but then just faded all day. Here's something I understand: if you're ever long a stock like that overnight, or any stock really, and it gaps up that much, you need to be taking profits during pre-market, because the chance of another spike at the market open is so unlikely because of the psychology. When you have anybody else who's a bag holder or other people who are just trading the stock overnight and stuff like that, and you have a chance to make 50 to 100% your money, people are going to take their profits. And that means that there's going to be more sellers than buyers, and that's going to cause the price to go down. It's simple economics. So you just know that if a stock is up that much during pre-market, you need to be locking. You need to be taking profits. You need to be locking in. So CEI, I really don't care about. Maybe it goes up a little bit tomorrow. I just don't care. It has recent resistance here. It tried running a little bit here. I don't really care about that resistance. But like I said, the only reason it was even up today was because it was spiking in sympathy to Yuma. I'm going to put it on my secondary watch list just because maybe if some energy plays get hot, it's one to keep an eye on. But I really don't care too much about it. So moving on to the next stock, CMRX. First little green day, floats a little higher, about 50 million according to Stocks to Trade. I'm not going to go double check because I'm not really interested in this. It was up 28% on the day. I'm going to look at the longer term chart. Yeah, long-term chart's not good. It's never gone supernova before, which if I'm going to buy a first green day, I want a stock that has previously gone supernova. Maybe it goes up tomorrow. Maybe it doesn't. I don't really care. This is one I'm going to ignore. It's just not worth my time. HSGX. So this one had huge volume yesterday and spiked straight up into this form of resistance. If I could short penny stocks, I would have shorted this yesterday, because this was, I don't care how good the news is, it was a straight up, it was up a ridiculous amount during pre-market, and then the daily resistance was right around 30 cents, and it spiked straight up to it, and then, got crushed, faded all day. But what's really nice about this is that it was up today. Tried to spike, failed, but then just consolidated all day and closed, not at its highs, but kind of closed mid-range, but it's still up about 22% on the day. So this is going to be on my primary watch list for tomorrow, because we are looking for a multi-day breakout, and it would be a multi-month breakout as well. And if it breaks out above this range here, I'm not going to predict how high it goes, but it could have a very nice run, because this is huge volume here. And so if it manages to go above that level, that's a really big deal. So that is on tomorrow's main watch list. By the way, guys, I feel like my voice might be a little monotone and stuff in this video. I'm sorry, I'm very tired. I just finished like a 3-hour workout, and it's a little late here in Houston. I didn't get much sleep last night either, so please bear with me. You know, I'm just trying to make sure I can be consistent about this and give you what you want. That's why, you know, I'm having to do this right now. But let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So we have Nets, N-E-T-S. So it's not a former supernova. It's never ran big in the past. Doesn't appear that there's news today, at least according to Stocks to Trade. I'm not going to go confirm that because I really don't care too much about this chart. I mean, it's traded a little bit of volume recently and it's breaking out of that range, but this just isn't my type of play. Maybe if it runs for a few days in a row, I'll see that on my upcoming scans and then maybe it'll catch my attention. But for now, I'm just going to ignore it. So PRPO. And this one also, this one traded huge volume yesterday as well, just like HSGX. And I think this one I would have considered shorting yesterday as well if I could short penny stocks. I mean, yeah, that was a huge spike. I mean, I don't know. I don't know for sure, but that was a straight up spike in a form of resistance. I don't care how good the news is. Price action is what matters most. I learned that from Tim Grattani. And I think that always holds true. Now, the reason I'm not long this overnight, even though, so you'll see that the last time it had decent volume was right here, the high of about 32 cents. Broke out above that range today, broke out above yesterday's highs, and went to 38 today, up about 40% on the day. I want to be surprised if this goes up tomorrow, but I don't take those type of chances. Since it's a second green day, I'm completely cool with missing. If it does go up tomorrow, I'm cool with missing that opportunity because it's traded such big volume the past 2 days, and if it does gap down, a lot of people are going to be underwater, and I would not want to deal with the stress that comes with that. You know, because that's an easy way to get crushed. But I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list. I'm pretty sure it's already there. Yes, it is. Because, you know, it's run the past 2 days. It's traded really big volume. And hopefully what it could do is maybe consolidate for a few days and then go for a multi-day breakout. I would love to buy that. SSLJ. I'm not sure if this was a reverse split or what, because this is really interesting price action. It must be some type of reverse split. I'm not going to sit here and go figure it out. I don't really care too much. This isn't my type of price action anyway. But what I will do, yeah, no, this isn't even going to make my secondary watch list. I don't care about this. I'm just going to disregard it. And we have Yuma, which I pulled up earlier. So Yuma is going to make my secondary watch list. And ideally, I think it's unlikely, but we'll see what happens. Maybe it consolidates for a few days and goes for another breakout. Actually, no, you know what? Yuma will go on my main watch list because if for some reason it had a really big morning panic, I would consider buying that because it's now a multi-day runner. Probably not going to happen, but I'll put it on the main watch list just in case. All right, so that's it for my listed stock nightly scan. Now we're going to move over to the OTCs. So we have CRTPF up 23%. This is its chart. Never really traded any volume. Today is a big volume day for this stock. So this probably does go up tomorrow. But you'll notice that on the day it only traded 132,000 shares, and that is not worth my time. Maybe if you have a really small account, you could be long this overnight. Probably gaps up, has a little bit of a move tomorrow. But for me, because the volume is so low, that is not worth my time as somebody who can afford to take a little bit bigger position sizes. So I'm going to disregard that. Also, for the sake of time, I'm not even really going to look over most of these because not many of them are up over 10%, but I will look at everything that is up over 10%. So we have EDXC. This one has been on my secondary watch list. It continues to break out, but the thing I don't like about this stock is that it's not very volatile. It doesn't adhere to the rules that most OTC stocks do when it comes to breakouts. Like, I'm just not really interested in it. I won't become interested in this stock until it can get really volatile, and it has not proven to me that it can get extremely volatile. And for that reason, I'm just not interested in it right now. I'll keep it on my secondary watch list because it's such a clean and beautiful chart. But I have no intention of trading this tomorrow or really anytime moving forward. SHLDQ, Sears, was up yesterday, ended up being a nice overnight long. But the thing is, the reason I did not trade yesterday as a first green day is because the volume was not very big. There wasn't much volume. You don't always, when the volume is that low, I feel like you're tossing a coin by swinging it overnight, because sometimes, yes, it will work and it'll go up the next day, but other times it won't, and you took an unnecessary loss. I feel like one of the most important lessons I've learned in trading so far is that it's not even so much about like the patterns, it's more so about how disciplined you are when, and sticking to what you completely understand. And for me, I will not trade a first green day unless it has really solid volume underneath it. And so for that reason, I did not take it overnight last night. It's still closed relatively, kind of mid-range a little bit. I want to be surprised to see this run a little bit higher tomorrow. I don't really care about it. I won't buy it because it has this recent resistance here. The only way I would potentially trade it is if, it spiked up here somehow. I would consider a short, but I'm not even going to put this on my secondary watch list. I don't really care about it. We already went over SIML. That is on my watch list for tomorrow. And the rest of these are all under 10%, so I'm going to disregard them. So that is the end of my scans. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move over to my secondary watch list for both listed stocks and OTCs. We will start with with listed stocks. So we have ADXS. This one was a reverse split, had a run, and based on that gap down right there, without even looking at the news, to me that looks like they had a financing. I'm going to go back and look through right here. Advaxis down 26% on pricing stock offering. So because they had an offering, I don't care about it anymore. This is coming off of my secondary watch list. I have no interest in it. AEHR. So this one had volume the other day. Now it's just consolidating a little bit. It looks like it might perk back up to this level. I'll keep it on my secondary watch list, maybe for a potential multi-day breakout. This actually reminds me a lot of, what is it? What's the ticker? OESX? Yeah, OESX did the same type of thing where it had, you'll see it had a volume day like that, consolidated for a few days. Now it's breaking out again. I considered buying this. This is actually on my watch list for yesterday. You can go back and look at Twitter. You'll see that it was on there. It may go for another run. The only reason I'm decided to take this off my watch list and I'm not long is because it's not that volatile and the volume's really not that good. But if you have a smaller account or something, I'm sure there's a strategy there where you could swing it for a couple of days, make a nice little return on your money. But it's just not my type of play. I'm going to keep AEHR just because more of a learning experience. I want to see if it could do the same thing as OESX. ATAI, we already put that on the secondary watch list for my scan. AVEO, recent runner. I talked about this a lot in my videos from last week. I'm going to keep it for now. See if it can consolidate for a few days and have a really solid first green day, or maybe it fades all the way back to 50 cents where it started and then it can have a first green day. Because the volume has been so strong recently, because everybody knows about this stock, I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list just in case something meaningful happens, but unlikely that I'll trade it. BPTH, I'm keeping this one on my secondary watch list because it's a former supernova. Went from like 2 to 74. Now it's just fading. It's imploding upon itself like all supernovas do. Maybe it'll continue to fade, and I'll be looking for a solid first green day that I can buy. We have BW. Had some decent volume the other day, but the float is higher. It's not going to be a former supernova, I can already tell. Yeah, I'm taking this off. Not even sure why I really put that on there in the first place. Well, actually, I think it's because I told you I did not look at the market Thursday or Friday, and at night I just looked for all the top percent gainers and just threw them on the watch list without even looking at them. So that's why it was there. But I have no I have no interest in that stock, so I'm removing it. CCNI we already put on my secondary watch list. CEI we put on there. CFMS, this was on my watch list last week. It failed at that $3 resistance level. Now it has come back to 2. I'm no longer interested in it for a main watch list or a secondary watch list, and it's not that volatile to begin with. I'm going to remove it. CCSE, this was an earnings winner. It had really big volume, breaking out to all-time highs, but now it has just it's just consolidating here. $3 off its highs. Told y'all I probably wouldn't buy this to begin with, even if it did break above that $13 range. And now it has proven that it's probably going to need to consolidate for a while. So because of that, I'm going to take it off of my secondary watch list. CVM, this was a multi-month breakout a few days ago. It has continued to run. Bigger volume today, but it did not close near its highs. It actually got crushed. Well, at least for this stock, it's not as volatile as some like lower float plays. I'm going to keep it on the secondary watch list. I don't necessarily know how to play these all the time. I consider this a little bit more of like a real company, more so than some of these other stocks that run, which can make them more choppy and harder to trade. And I never want my job to be hard. I want to make it as easy as possible. So I stay away from things that I don't completely understand. FSNN. So this one had a big gap down the other day. Tried to bounce a little bit. Now it did trade big volume. Now it's just consolidating. I'm going to keep this on my secondary watch list because perhaps it can consolidate for a few days and then go for a breakout. Usually when stocks gap down this much, it doesn't, like, they won't break out above this range very soon. It'll usually have to consolidate for a couple months or something, or maybe a month, and then it'll break out. So I'm calling it right now. This will probably be a breakout play in a couple months. I will not be surprised at all. That's just how these things work. But I'm going to keep it for now on my secondary watch list just in case it does get decent volume and it tries to start breaking out again. But I think the chances of that are far less likely. than a couple months down the road. HSGX, we actually put that on my main watch list, so I'm going to take it off of my secondary watch list. InBev, we already put that here. OESX, I'm going to keep it because it's similar as AEHR. OPTT, this was a recent runner. Had huge volume the other day, but then got crushed. And then based on that gap down, I can already tell you right now, it was a public offering. And yep, they had a 424B form filed. That's an SEC filing, which is, they're issuing shares. They're raising money for the company, which results in the stock getting crushed. I'm going to keep this on my secondary watch list just because it traded such big volume the other day. Maybe it can have a first green day and bounce a little bit, but I don't know. I really don't like touching companies after they have these toxic financings because the float goes up and makes it harder for the stocks to be volatile. Usually there's probably like an ATM or some warrants or something involved, although the warrants aren't generally immediately, they can't immediately be exercised. But the point is, these toxic financings are very bad for these companies, and it makes it very hard for their stock to move up in price. PBTS. Looks like this was a recent IPO. I don't know about that for sure. It could just be a ticker change. Had a little bit of volume the other day. Now it's just consolidating. I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list because maybe if it breaks out above like that $8 range, it could have a nice little run. I usually don't trade these type of stocks, but we will. Oh yeah, okay, never mind. This was an IPO. Okay, so yeah, actually I am going to keep this because what I've noticed is that when stocks have IPOs and they do go for a multi-day breakout, those tend to work a decent amount of the time, but only if they have good volume. So because there's not really any resistance, because it's holding up here, I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list. PHAS, I talked about this last week. It ended up continuing to go higher like I said it would. But today, that was a big volume day, and that doesn't look good because, basically faded all day. Sellers have finally overwhelmed buyers. And now I'm actually going to move this to my main watch list because I will not be surprised at all to see this go down tomorrow. Maybe even have a big enough morning panic. I don't know. Like I said, it's harder. I know I'm repeating a lot of the same lessons, but it's good to remember these things. It's very hard for listed stocks to have clean morning panics worth buying into. But I keep them on watch just in case they do. So as I said, I'm moving PHAS to my main watch list, taking it off of my secondary watch list. And PRPO, we already talked about that. It's on my secondary watch list. And PRTO is similar to FSNN in the sense that it had this big gap down and now it's consolidating, had big volume the other day. Maybe it goes for a breakout, probably doesn't. These things usually take time to work out, a couple months of consolidation. But I'm going to keep it just for now because pharmaceutical or therapeutic companies have been hot, biotech, stuff like that. Maybe it could break out and actually work. I don't know. We'll see what happens. So that is it for my listed stock secondary watch list. And lastly, we have the OTC secondary watch list. And I don't want to spend too much time here, so I'm going to clean out some of these things just because I am aware of what all these stocks are trading at and stuff. And I think something that has made me successful, I guess, in this. I'm not successful as other other traders like Steven Dux or Gattani and stuff like that. Over time, I think I can get there. But I have managed to find financial freedom, 6 figures, can pretty much do whatever I want whenever I want, travel, stuff like that. I think that is worthy of being considered successful. The reason I bring that up is because I pretty much know where every stock that is worth trading is at all times. So I know like what the breakout level is, or or where the resistance is, all these different things. I know that off the top of my head. I can just glance at this watch list and know exactly what all of these things are at. So I don't have to sit here and click on each individual ticker and go over it one by one. And I'm pretty confident that other people don't do their due diligence like I do. So I encourage you to put in all this work. Make sure you're aware of where everything's at least what's worth being traded. And eventually, hopefully I think if you stick with this process long enough, you'll become successful. I don't think this game is incredibly hard. I think the hardest component is just being disciplined. That's what it's all about. This is not you versus the market. This is you versus you. That's what this is about. All right. Well, I digress there. Let's get to this. I would love to wrap up this video. I'm getting pretty tired here. So we have ASDN. A little bit of volume recently, setting up, looks like for a potential breakout. Kind of went supernova in the past, but it was all low volume, not very volatile. I'm going to keep this on my secondary watch list just because, like I said, so I'll keep things on my watch list just because I'm curious to know like if I can learn something. If this breaks out above this range here, what was the high of this? 87. If it breaks out, maybe it can go to $1.50 or something. I don't know. But the volume isn't even that high. Only a little bit over 500,000 shares traded. I'm probably not going to touch it. So that's why I'm not going to put it on my main watch list. I'm just going to keep it on the secondary watch list. And we'll see what it does. I'm just curious. BTCS, BTSC, we already put on there. CMGO, we put on there. DIGAF, that was a Bitcoin sympathy play. I'm not going to pull it up. It has long-term resistance. I'm really not even interested in it. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from my watch list. EDXC, we already talked about that. EMBI, I was talking about this last week. It has a pretty clean chart. It's breaking out to multi-year highs, but the problem is that it's not very volatile. I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list just in case it ever does get volatile, but I'm pretty much going to ignore it for now, despite the chart being very clean, despite the volume being decent. It's just not volatile enough to warrant a trade. Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, I'm keeping both of those on my secondary watch list. I'll only pull up one of them because the charts are pretty much identical. I've noticed them creeping up to this breakout level here, multi-month breakout level, and I think that this could have a really decent run. Usually multi-month breakouts on OTCs don't work that well, but these stocks are a little bit different. I would say these are kind of like a mutation of OTCs and listed stocks. So yeah, I'm keeping these on watch just because I've noticed them creeping up to this breakout level. And I think that a breakout above that level could bring in decent volume and could be a nice trade. GBCHF, I know this is Bitcoin related, had a big volume the other day, a big run. Really hasn't done anything in the past. So if it was to break out, if it was to have a multi-day breakout above this 2 cent level, this would be a very nice chart, and this thing could very well go to 3, 4, maybe even 5, because that's what some of these little pennies can do. But the reason I'm not really interested in this is because it is Bitcoin related. As I talked about earlier, that's like trading commodities. It's too hard to predict. You don't know what Bitcoin's going to do overnight and all that stuff. So I'm going to keep this on my secondary watch list, and I'll make sure to keep an eye on it tomorrow, because maybe if Bitcoin starts breaking out again, this could spike in sympathy and have a nice run. But because it's tied to crypto, I'm much less interested in it. IGNG, so recent supernova and OTC penny stock land. Now it's, had this huge gap up, faded for a few days, came back to the breakout level, bounced a little bit. They had some news and stuff. Now, it's pretty much going to need to consolidate for a really long time to break out above this level. Might even get crushed and come all the way back down here. It's just trading mid-range. Volume is dried up. I no longer have really any interest in this stock, so I'm going to take it off of my secondary watch list. LFAP attempted to break out here, multi-month breakout here. I actually was long that and took a decent little loss there because it got crushed. You gotta be careful about these OTCs, because sometimes if you don't get a fill, bad things can happen. I tried selling in here, did not get a fill, and you'll see what happened there. I think I lost about 4K on that one, which is really annoying, but at the same time, I can handle stuff like that. It sucks, but that's the risk of this business sometimes. And honestly, if I could go, there were just a lot of bad things about this trade. Went out to lunch and stuff. I was, if you want me to talk about it more, just message me on Twitter or comment on Twitter or something, or comment on the video below, and I could go over this, because there were just some bad things about it. I think it was pretty much completely preventable, but I don't think the loss was necessarily that bad. But that really bothered me that it couldn't hold that breakout level here. So I'm going to go ahead and, because it's still holding this support down in this area, I'm going to leave it on my secondary watch list. But because that breakout failed, I have much less interest in this stock. So MGTI, Bitcoin related play. Told you I'm less interested in this one because of the resistance over here under 20. And you'll see, even a little resistance here had some volume. I'm going to keep it on the secondary watch list just in case Bitcoin continues to run. Cryptos can get hot, but for the most part, I'm not really interested in it. MLCPF, I was actually thinking about that earlier. It looks like it didn't even trade today. I don't even know maybe it's halted or something. I don't know exactly. Let me look on. I don't know why this isn't working properly. I'm tired, so I'm not going to look into this, but I'm going to keep it on my secondary watch list just because it's a clean chart. But it looks like today, Tuesday, April 9th, it looks like it was halted for some reason. I don't know if there's news pending or what. Maybe, for all I know, they could be getting uplisted to the NASDAQ or something. Well, actually, it's a foreign ticker. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and worry about it, but that's interesting. I'm surprised I didn't notice that earlier. Night Food Holdings, NGTF. I'm just going to leave it here because, I've noticed some pot stocks running a little bit recently. InBev ran yesterday. This has a pretty clean chart. I didn't like how it failed to break out here, but I'm just going to leave it for now because if pot can get hot, it's one of the cleaner charts out there. OTTV. This one, multi-day breakout, just very low volume. Maybe it could break out again. It's just the problem is the volume's so low. It's not worth the trade, in my opinion. I'm actually just going to go ahead and take it off the watch list. PHVAF. This one's starting to break out of this range a little bit. Traded decent volume for its history. The problem is it's not very volatile, so it's not worth a trade, in my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and take it off of the watch list. PLNHF, we already talked about that. REFG. Recent runner on decent volume. Not even that good a volume. Now it's just doing nothing. I'm going to take it off the watch list. SIGN. Runner the other day on basically no volume, only 80,000 shares. I'm going to take it. Could go for a multi-day breakout. I don't really care. The volume's so low, I'm not going to touch it. SRUTF. This was a recent runner. Now it's just consolidating. And I won't be surprised at all if in like a week or two or something make a breakout above this range. I'm going to leave it on my secondary watch list for now, but this is definitely a potential buy above this area for a breakout. The only thing I don't like about it is that it's not that volatile, which makes me less willing to trade it. But, you know, it's a very clean chart. And I know they've had like some meaningful news, and it's a cannabis stock. UCLE. Little multi-day breakout, multi-day runner on lower volume recently. I think this pretty sure it's a former supernova. Yeah, former supernova. I'm going to leave it now. I'm going to leave it for now. Maybe it can come up to this area and break out again. I probably won't take the trade though because the volume's so low. But I'm just going to leave it for now. VRUS, we've talked about this one before. Clean chart in the penny OTC penny land. If it breaks out above this level, it could have a nice little, it could have a little run, kind of how it did here. But the problem I don't like about this is it's not that volatile. Although it did go up about 75% over 3 days. I want stocks like SIML that, you know, can go up 500-600% in a couple days. That's what I prefer. And sorry guys, I'm just getting very tired. Last ticker, VSHC. Not very volatile, kind of creeping up to this or probably an all-time high breakout. Yeah, creeping up to all-time highs. Clean chart, just not that volatile. I'm just going to leave it for now. I don't want to make the decision if I'm going to remove it just yet because I'm so tired. But alright guys, thank you for bearing with me. Appreciate you tuning in for this video. I'm sure this was probably the longest one I've done so far. Follow me on Twitter, Mason_Fecht. That's FECHT. You'll see it in the video handle below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel where I'll continue to put out free videos and stuff. Reach out to me on either comment below my YouTube videos or reach out to me on Twitter asking me what you'd like me to cover. Like I said, I'll be in Houston at least for the rest of the month. So while I'm here, Houston's home for me. While I'm here, I'm going to try to do more videos and stuff because it's very hard to do these things while I'm out traveling. You know, I like to be outside and not on my computer. You know, whenever I'm traveling, I want to explore. So I'll do these things while I'm here at home. But anyway, guys, have a great night. Have a prosperous trading day tomorrow, and look for more videos coming in the future. Anyway, take care, and I will talk to you guys soon.